Hello, investors. Welcome to yet another edition of 18 Minutes with 180 Markets. Friends, you know, at 180 Markets, we are always looking out for those companies that are de-risked, but still offer that big upside. But also, sometimes we want to find those companies that are not so well understood or understood yet by the marketplace as they should be. And that's why I'm so excited today to have Auric Mining and its managing director, Mark English, because we think that Auric represents such a company. It's de-risked with still big upside and also slightly understood by the market. And with that introduction and to talk all about it, and maybe to inform people a little bit more, Mark, welcome to 18 Minutes with 180 Markets.
Thanks, Greg. Thanks for that fabulous introduction.
Great. Hey, Mark, everybody's got a story. Can you just in a couple minutes tell us about yourself? How did you get to where you are today?
So Auric came about because of a relationship principally by two guys. We live across the road from each other. I'm a chartered accountant by profession, so I've been in the financial markets and money markets all my life. My neighbour across the road, John Utley, is a gold geologist. He's been in the gold space all his life since he graduated from University in New Zealand. We've been good friends for 15 years. We were talking, as you do, over a glass of wine or a couple of beers, and we talked about opportunities in the gold space. So we engaged John to look at opportunities within two jurisdictions, either Australia or Canada. We gave John the brief. That's where we wanted to be. We didn't want to be outside of those jurisdictional risk areas. So John went and looked at projects and he came back to us. We found a couple of projects, we raised some money, and we got listed on the ASX in February 2021.
Hey, Mark, I have to ask, and you mentioned about de-risk, and I mentioned it as well, that you only wanted to look at a couple of jurisdictions. Obviously, we're seeing a lot of political upheaval today. Did you actually have the foresight to see all this happening, or did it just happen to be that maybe as an accountant, you want to stay on the straight and narrow?
Oh, look, it's not so much the straight and narrow, don't get me wrong, but I've just been around for 40 odd years and I've seen lots of places, whether it be Africa or whether it be Mongolia or whether it be, all those places. They've got fantastic assets, fantastic results, fantastic opportunities, but we just didn't think, gold, we're principally a gold commodity. So gold is all about how you sell it. It's sold on US dollar terms. So you make money about your cost of capital and your cost of production and your labour force. Now, Australia does have an expensive labour force. However, we have the knowledge and the wherewithal to do it properly. But also, I've seen guys that have gone to Burkina Faso. I've seen guys that have gone to all weird and wonderful places. And some of them do exceptionally well, but quite a few of them end up with really big political issues. And we as a company didn't want to be in that geopolitical space.
That makes sense to me. And I guess turning towards the Auric assets specifically, you have your Jefferies project, your Munda Gold project. Can you just maybe spend a couple minutes just telling us about the projects?
Yeah, certainly, Greg. So our principal project is called the Widgie Gold Project. So all our tenements are between Kalgoorlie and Norseman. So we're about an hour south of Kal and an hour north of Norseman. So it's a fantastic location. It's got all the necessary infrastructure around it that you need to operate a good mining company and a good mining business. We bought our first project called Munda from Estrella Resources. We bought that in September 2020. Estrella wanted to monetize that project so that they could go off and do other nickel exploration. So we bought that project pre-IPO. We bought the Jefferies Fine project of Mincor Resources. Similar, we bought it pre-IPO. Mincor wanted to exit that project, so they were more concentrated around Widgie. Then once we listed, we went and acquired a big portfolio of property from Neometals all around the Widgie Dome. As I said, we're principally a gold-focused company. That's not to say we won't look at other things, but at this point in time, our focus is purely gold, purely around Widgie area. So we acquired those three projects. We've raised circa $10 million off the market. We did some in a seed raise and some in an IPO. A lot of that cash has gone out the door because we had to pay Mincor, Neometals and Estrella. And then we've spent a lot of our money developing those assets. So we've increased those assets substantially since we acquired them in September 2020 and again in June 2021.
Right. And, you know, within Jefferies and Moonden, in any order you want, can you just tell investors a little bit about, you know, maybe, you know, what do you think the size and the scale is? And also, what should we be looking for over the next 12 months?
Okay, so Munda is our key project, and Munda sits at the top of the Widgie Dome. So at Widgie Dome, we control the land around the top of the dome, and we control it around all the three axes, the north, the east, and the west. Mincor controls most of the land down the south part of the dome. And of course, everybody knows that they're developing Cassini and developing their nickel assets. So Munda, when we bought it off Australia, had a resource of around near 50,000 ounces. It was all in the indicator category. We've now, in the last 15 months, moved that 50,000 ounces up to around 200,000 ounces. But more importantly, we've got 82% of that now in the indicator category. We've done a drilling program just southeast of Munda at a place called Guest. It's only about 2 km southeast of Munda. We did a drill program there in January this year. We're still waiting for the results. You know, West Australia has just been gridlocked because of labour issues. It's been a huge problem in West Australia. So we're still waiting for those results to come through from Guest. We hope that they build upon our resource and therefore we can concentrate at Munda and Guest. Jefferies Find is a separate asset. It's about 45 k's due east of Norseman. So you head out on the air highway and then you go north up a dirt track, which is about 15 k's long. Jefferies Finds there, it's a small tenement. It's only about 124 hectares. It has a discrete gold resource in it of around 50,000 ounces. I'm using general numbers, so 50,000 is the approximate number at Jefferies Find. It's held in a banded iron formation and the gold is thickest at surface. So we're looking at Jefferies Find as a toll treatment operation. It won't grow too much. As I said, it's discrete. So we've done some internal studies. We're doing more. We've told the market our goal is to develop Jefferies Find. We've just recently got our miscellaneous license granted to get from the highway up to Jefferies Find. Then we'll do a scoping study. We're waiting for our metallurgical results. As I said, we'll do a scoping study in May, June this year. But our aim is to get Jefferies Find in production by June 2023. But, you know, with our market cap at the moment of around $8 million, you can see that we've got some huge upside and we've got some assets in our control that we can turn into cash.
Yeah, and I know that we have to always be careful with what we're quoting here, but again, as we sit here, we say to ourselves, you know, $5 million of cash, you know, to be generated on an $8 million market cap. You know, certainly that sounds incredibly value-based to us as investors. And especially, it sounds like, just to correct me if I'm wrong, production, it could certainly be in the next 18 to 24 months.
Oh, absolutely. So we would like to have it by June 2023. So close to 15 months. So we've got our internal program of the hurdles that we have to hit. One of the biggest things, of course, is to book a spot in the toll mills. So there's 3 toll mills operating, one at Kalgoorlie and 2 others at Coolgardie. So we've commenced discussions with those 3 parties to see how it would work. We've also had some discussions with other people that are a bit closer. They might want to assist Pantoro at Northern, for example, or Kayora at Higginsville. So to cart from Jefferies Find to Kalgoorlie's 230 k's each way. So whilst that sounds a huge kilometre in the world, in West Australia, that's not a big number. And as I said, we're only 10 k's off the bitumen. So you build a 10k gravel road and then you're on the bitumen all the way through to Kalgoorlie or Coolgardie. So our CapEx isn't great. Of course, when we did our initial internal documents in September, October 2020, the fuel price has changed markedly. So we need to factor in the cost of diesel. But look, you know, it's not going to go away. It's in the ground. It's an asset in the ground. We will either monetize it or we'll do extra work with it. But as I've said, Jefferies Find is small. it's discrete. It's going to produce cash. It's going to produce dollars. But the big focus for us is around Munda and the top of the Widgie Dome. And if we can keep growing that resource, as I said earlier, we started around 45 to 50,000 ounces. We've built it up to 200,000 ounces. If we can keep adding to that and building our resources, we're a good acquisition. We're in a fantastic location for gold and nickel in West Australia.
For sure. And within Munda, can you just tell us what are the activities, the drilling, or what should we be looking for, call it, over the next year out of the site?
Okay, so Munda, we've done 2 drill programs at Munda since we listed on the ASX. All those announcements have been made to the ASX. So Guest is where we're working at the moment, which is only, as I said, about 2K southeast of Munda. About 1K southeast of Guest is a privately owned operating gold mine. So we think we're right in the right location, on the right rocks and in the right area. Where we own the gold rights, so Widgie Nickel owns the nickel and the lithium rights at Munda. So we're working in conjunction with Widgie Nickel on how we'd monetize those collectively. Now, there's going to be some challenges there, but any joint venture arrangement's got its challenges. So they're things that we have to deal with. Any marriage has got its challenges. So it's just part of life and part of how you manage your processes. So we would like to keep developing the gold ounces at Munda. We want to keep building on those. We're not in any decision at any point to make any strategic decision at this point in time. But what we want to do is just keep growing the ounces so that it gives us options. So as I mentioned earlier, Kayora's got a big mill at Higginsville, 30k south of Munda. Pantoro's got a mill 90k south of Munda. The magical number that everybody says is you need 1 million ounces to build your own mill. So that's not in our foresight at the moment. We're looking at trying to get through 200 to 250 to 300,000 ounces under our control. And then we're going to, as I said, look at options, look at alternatives, just keep developing our land size and keep developing the resources under our control.
Yeah, no, for sure. And as you said, you're in a great infrastructure part of the world. So certainly that wouldn't be an issue. And one would also think, again, we have to be careful with valuations, but an Australian asset with very good infrastructure around it certainly should command a premium to world marketplace prices.
Yeah, well, I'll leave that to the market people and you guys, but certainly that's my perception. That's our perception. The risk of being in Western Australia at Widgie is minuscule.
Right. And speaking of markets, people, Mark, you're a recently IPO'd company, and we think you're somewhat misunderstood or really not very well known in the marketplace. Can you just tell us what are your thoughts about it at this point?
Look, that's outside of our control, so that's something we don't focus too much on. Look, we're acutely aware of it. We're acutely aware that we did an IPO in February 2021 at 25 cents, and we're currently around the 8.5. That doesn't inspire a lot of people. But if you explain to people what you've actually done in that period, I think we will get re-rated. Look, COVID's been difficult for the whole world. COVID's been difficult to get in and out of WA. We raised most of our money out of Melbourne. Melbourne has had its own problems. But look, they're things that are starting to turn. I think people are starting to appreciate what we've actually done and what we've actually achieved. In particular for Munda, to have moved it from 40,000 ounces to circa 200,000 ounces in a 15-month period, we're pretty pleased about that. We've got a really smart geological team. The 2 principal guys have been in the mining game for a long time in gold. John Utley, our technical director, his last major gig was up in Nova Scotia. He was on the Torquoy mine in Nova Scotia. They took that from a very small operation till it was sold out to St Barb's for 800 million Aussie dollars. I'm not saying we're going to do it again, but we've got the capacity and the intellect and the resources to do those things.
Right. And as you said earlier on in the interview, that Munda, you do have up and coming drilling results. And again, that should probably bring a little bit more light onto Auric, don't you think?
Yeah, yes, I would hope so. And look, the guys have been out in the field over the last week or so planning, we've planned out what we need to do in 2022. We've got a clear path and direction of things that we want to do and places that we want to drill and assets that we want to build upon. As I said, we bought most of this package off Neometals in June 2021. So we've only owned it for circa 8-9 months. So we're still understanding what we're doing. But look, we're very bullish in what we are going to achieve in the Widgie-Malta area. As I said, you've got Beta Hunt, you've got Spargo Reward, you've got Kaora, you've got Mincor, you've got Widgie Nickel, you've got other people, you've got 4 or 5 big major players all in that vicinity, and we're working pretty well together. In that area around Widgie in 2022, Greg, for example, there'll be nearly $100 million spent in mining and exploration in that area. So it's getting its own focus. I think it hadn't had a lot of focus because it had been controlled by WMC for many, many years, and WMC really weren't looking in that area. So Widgie-Malta, as I said, halfway between Norseman and Cal, we've got some good news coming, some good stories, and we've got the necessary skills to run and develop a really exciting gold company.
Excellent, excellent. Hey, Mark, we have to ask, and just turning a little bit, now that WA has opened itself up, are you noticing any, we always hear these horror stories about it's, impossible to get workers, the labs are so backed up. Have you seen any change in the last couple of weeks?
Yep, absolutely. So we're in Cal we've been in Cal in January, February and March, but in Kalgoorlie in January, for example, all the coffee shops were shut. There were just signs up saying closed, no staff. You drove past the Bunnings, it's got the big flashing sign, hiring staff, 3,000 sign-on dollar bonus, right? So labor's been a huge issue. So we use Genalysis for our drill results. So we delivered some samples to Genalysis on the 21st of January. We still don't have them, right? That's 9 weeks. At one stage, they said they had a bank up of over 90,000 drill samples on pallets all around the yard. They've now worked that down to, they say, around 35,000. So look, labor's been a big problem. A lot of backpackers go through Kalgoorlie, a lot of, it's just that mecca. They go there, they work there for 2-3 weeks, they earn enough cash, then they head on to Esperance or head on to Adelaide or, God forbid, Melbourne. That just hasn't been available for 2 years. So, for example, we use K-Drill to do our drilling. They've lost a couple of drillers that wanted to go home to see their wives and families that come out of Brisbane or come out of Geelong, and they just haven't been available to come back into West Australia. But certainly the border coming down is a big step forward for us. And I think that will cure a lot of the gridlock that's been our problem in WA.
Right. Well, Mark, we're very much looking forward to everything opening up, and also to your not only near-term drill results, but also all the upside that Munda has to offer. And Mark, we have to keep these interviews short. If there are just 1 or 2 comments that you can make about Auric that investors really should know about the company, in your mind, what do you want people to know?
I think there's 3 key issues for us. One is location. So we're a gold-focused company purely in West Australia, purely between Kalgoorlie and Norseman. Secondly, our board and our technical team is outstanding. We've got results on the ground. We know what we're doing. We've got all the systems covered. We've got all the necessary skills within our board and our management team. And lastly, we do control 250,000 ounces of gold. They are valuable. And we do believe that we'll be a medium-term gold producer in June 2023. That should make us stand out from the pack.
Great. Hey, Mark, thank you very much. And we very much look forward to the next 12 months and beyond.
Okay, Greg, thank you very much. Have a fantastic day.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you for watching another presentation by 180 Markets. Don't forget, if you want access to thousands of ASX capital raises, head on over to 180markets.com.au, sign up, and get on board for our very next capital raise. Thanks for watching.